All stations. This is AE6H, and this station will be net control this evening for the SOARA VHF UHF net. This net is open to all licensed amateurs, whether or not they are members of SOARA. We do encourage guest check-ins. But before we begin the net, let's pause for an emergency priority trick or Echolink traffic. Any of the above, please come now. So emergency priority or Echolink traffic heard. Once again, this is Ray, E6H, and I'll be net control this evening for the SOARA VHF and UHF net. We'll now begin the net with check-ins. Remember, guest check-ins are welcome at any time. So anybody wishing to check in to the SOARA VHF and UHF net, please come now.
W6 EVT, and I have an announcement.
They'll acknowledge your announcement, but other stations, please come now. I know AA6WE's out there. Do you care to check in, Mike?
Oh, I'll check in. I was just waiting for Dale and announcements and other things to go on. But, no problem. Alpha India 6 with Ski Echo.
Yeah, mate, perhaps we misunderstood. I misunderstood. I'm going to keep getting a few check-ins, and I'll come back for announcements. That way, we know there's somebody to listen to the announcements. So, anybody else wishing to check into the SOARA VHF UHF net, please come now.
K6HIV.
Okay, Canute, any others?
Kilo 6 November, Oscar Victor, check in only.
Okay, Ray and Canute, any others?
Kilo Victor Bob.
Okay, Bob, any others? That gives us a few to work with, and so we'll now go to the top of the list, and Dale, please go ahead with your announcement.
Well, when I heard Ray, I thought he was going to make the propagator announcement, but he said it was in and out, so I'll make it for him. This Ray, K6NOV, the newsletter editor, is looking for articles for the propagator. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a hint, a tip, or something longer if you'd like. Anyway, if you have anything you'd like to send to the club, and I know I'd love reading it, as would many others, send it to k6nov@soar.org. And other than that, I don't have any announcements, other than there was a call for volunteers that went out for an April 4th foot race up in the Santiago Hills, local hills near us, and we're looking for folks. N6RPR at SOAR.org is looking for folks to help with that. So if you think you can help, give them an email, and maybe you can work out some way that you can help. With that, back to net W6CVT.
Okay, thanks, Dale. And then over to Mike, KA6WE.
Not too much to say, so I'll just keep it rolling there. Oh, back to net. Alpha India 6 with Ski Echo.
Okay, and thanks, Mike, and Blue, K6HIV.
Good evening, Ray and the group. Ray, thanks for doing the net tonight. Appreciate it. It sounds like you're catching everybody a little off guard for some reason tonight, me included. So did you announce the subject?
I did by email, and I wasn't going to entertain the subject until we got a few more basic check-ins in, and then we can roll through with the subject, if you don't mind waiting.
Well, I would appreciate it. K6HIV, thanks, Ray.
Okay, and K6NOV, correction, he's a check-in only, so we'll skip right over Ray, and Kilo 5 Zulu Victor Bob.
This is NYKTV, and I just got back from a trip to Arizona to visit some of my in-laws. Missed you guys last week. I did try to run up on Echolink, but I couldn't find it. So with that, I'll give it back to net control. November 5, Kilo 0 Victor.
Okay, thanks, Bob. And actually, I paused for Echolink traffic, but unless somebody was coming in to another node beyond ours, somehow, our internet connection is not working well to give us Echolink on these two repeaters. So, anyway, let's see. Are there any additional folks who would like to check in to the SOARA 2-meter VHF UHF net before we begin the discussion? Anybody would like to check in, please come now. I think somebody was attempting, but they were all white noise. Try again. Oh, sorry, your all white noise cannot copy any audio. So if you stand by, see if some other folks want to check in, then we can come back to you. Meanwhile, maybe you can figure out why you're having a problem. And this is 86H Net Control. This is the SOARA VHF UHF Net. Any additional check-ins, please come now. I guess that's all we're going to have for now. So the topic that we discussed, or I threw out, for discussion, is and building antennas, and what antennas have you built or would like to build, and we can throw it's for either VHF, UHF, HF, no matter, and also if what was your most fun antenna, or most effective, or however you'd like your favorite, I guess we can just say, of antennas that you may have built or, again, have seen and think it'd be fun to build someday yourself. So with that, we'll go to Dale, W6EDT. How about your home-built antennas?
Well, I've done a few. None of them are up at the moment, and I'm kind of thinking about I really want to have an antenna that I can use for a whisper beacon, and so it can't require any tuning, has to be reasonably good on the bands I want to send out whisper traffic on. So I was either thinking of an off-center fed dipole, one of those 51-foot, 12-foot sort of gadgets, or maybe a fan dipole. But built a J-pole a while ago for 2 meters, and it worked kind of well. It worked about as well as the Ed Fong one. So there's all kinds of fun stuff to build. Actually, I'm forgetting about one, the loop on ground that's still out there doing loop on ground sorts of things. It's an interesting antenna, definitely much quieter than a regular antenna. The jury's still out on whether or not it provides a better signal-to-noise ratio. It's certainly not head and shoulders above the regular antennas, but it might be better. We'll have to see. Back to net, W6EDT.
Okay, thanks, Dale. And yeah, was your J-pole, is that a copper cactus or a twin lead type J-pole or ladder line J-pole?
So it was actually copper, plumbing, tubing, copper tubing. It was kind of fun to build, actually. I passed the feed line up the long radiator with some Teflon insulators, and made it kind of nice. It was a little cleaner than some of the other ones that I'd seen kind of listed in the ham publications. It was a little tedious to build, but it was pretty good. But it didn't work. Obviously, you have a real commercial built 2 meter 440 antenna, so it didn't really need it. But it was fun to build.
No, they're very effective, and of course they're ground plane free, so no ground plane required. But so anyway, there's been several iterations built by SOARA people. Of course, probably the easiest is the 300 ohm TV twin lead J-pole, or roll-up J-pole, sometimes called, or it could be stuffed inside the PVC, like the Ed Fong. But usually those are they're 2 meter, and they'll work on 440, but they're not a perfect solution for that. And of course, the Ed Fong design with the matching stub is a lot better. So, but those are all very reasonably price buildable. And say, let's go to Mike, A6WE. Have you got any fun home-built antennas lately? Yes, Mike is gone. So K6HIV, Knut, I'm sure you've got some interesting homemade antenna stories.
This is K6HIV from beautiful downtown Rancho Santa Margarita. Well, I've built a couple, not many. I think I mentioned last time we were talking about other things but antennas were included that I, as a novice back when I figured 60-some years ago, 68 years ago. Oh my! At any rate, I built a TV twin lead folded dipole on 40 meters. It was my very first antenna. and that was kind of exciting. But back in those days, I built my own transmitter from a kit, good old Heath kit, and modified a World War II surplus aircraft 40-meter receiver. So it was. That's why we call them the good old days. At any rate, and more recently, getting into MCOM, I built a 40-meter NDIS dipole, it's just a simple dipole. It's just a simple dipole. Nothing more than that. The thing is, it did tell me about 11 feet off the ground in the way that I had it wired up at the parking lot where I used to work. Connected to one end to a tree and the other end to a sign that said no parking. Anyway, so but the NDIS worked very good. I logged about 6 or 7 contacts that formed an arc from San Jose around through Nevada and Arizona down to the Tucson area. So it's about around 400 miles, just as advertised. So it worked according to plan. Back to you, Ray, K6HIV.
Okay, thanks, Canute. And let's see, November 5, Kilo Zulu Victor, Bob. Have you built any homebrew antennas recently, or even not recently, anytime?
Over my career, I've done quite a few of them. Matter of fact, I just put together my photo at Kid Pacific, Arizona with me, and got a 17-foot extendable whip with a couple of ground wires. And I've got a software-defined radio, and I couldn't get squat on it. So, unfortunately, I didn't bother to take my nano DNA with me, so I wasn't able to troubleshoot it. So I'm home now, and this week I will be working on it. But my favorite antenna, which is also not working at the time, is the mag loop. About a year ago, I built one, and I was working JSL, and anyway, I was working a lot of digital on the mag loop. I decided to take it apart and make it better with a plot capacitor. I haven't got one of those around to it since I've said a couple of times before on these nets. I'm thinking maybe this week or next week I will get it back together again. And I've got really good signals and not much noise. I've also got a in-fed long wire that I'm trying to use on HF, but evidently there's so much QRM around here that it's hard for signals to get through. And that's why I need to get that magnet back in order. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say on homemade antennas right now, so that's you, Ray. This is 5KGB.
But yeah, thanks. You sound like you've got a reasonable amount of experience and on various styles and types of antennas. And, you know, some people think, oh, I've got to spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on the Binford 9000 multi-band, multimeter, all of that type antenna. And not so the case. I know in my first antenna, for instance, was a homebrew G5RV Junior in an inverted V up on the house. That was my first HF antenna. My first VHF UHF antenna for home use was a J-pole, so a homemade J-pole. And since that was the twin lead style. Since then, I made several of those. I made a few of the plumbing fitting copper cactuses, as they're called, and I've even made one out of ladder line. So a window line, actually, the 400 ohm. So yeah, they're pretty easy to do, and they perform reasonably well. So next time around, I'll maybe talk about my most fun antenna. So right now we'll go back to correction. First, we'll see is there any emergency or priority traffic. If so, please come now. Or emergency or priority traffic heard. Is there anyone else who would like to join the SOARA VHF UHF net? If so, please come now. No additional check-ins. Let's go to the top at W6EDT. Dale, do you have anything more on homemade antennas?
Well, I kind of forgot the very first antenna that I made for HF. At the urging of Steve, K6UVR, who kept telling me any antenna is better than no antenna. I just put up a simple dipole, wasn't resonant, deliberately so, with an SGC 231 tuner at the feed point, or antenna matcher is probably a better word, but because it doesn't tune the antenna at all. And I've been using that on HF now for probably close on to 8 years, and it seems to work very nicely. It works all the way down to 160 meters, although it's not very efficient and kind of useless on that band, but it works up to 6 meters, just limited to 100 watts. But just a piece of wire, one end's in a tree about 35 or 40 feet in the air, and the other's connected to a pole in the house up about 30 feet, so kind of a little bit of a sloper fed in the middle with some ladder line. So simple, but it works really well. Been using it for a long time. The coatings come off the wire, but that's okay. Back to net, W6CVT.
Sometimes something simple is oftentimes the best. So thanks for that. And they like your first antenna, mine was as simple as I said, G5RV with 300 ohm twin lead. It was the junior model. It only went to 40 meters. But that's all I needed to do, and made some interesting worldwide contacts with it. Luckily, it was during a pretty good sunspot cycle, so a couple of cycles back. So it was I was fortunate there. Anyway, let's see if AX6WE is returned. Well, I think Mike has abandoned us for the night. We'll try him one more time in a little bit. And so over to Nick Canute, K6HIV.
Well, I guess I blew all my antenna stories last go round. Of course, as far as building, as opposed to buying, I bought a couple of antennas also that were including the G5RV Junior, which I used for a couple of years when I was straight up across that same parking lot I told you about. But I didn't build that. I just bought it and used it. Interesting stories. Keep them coming, folks. K6HIV back to net control.
Okay, thanks, Canute. And I guess last on the list for now, at least, is November 5 Kilo Zulu Victor, Bob.
I forgot about the very first one I made also. I was a tech license for a very long time, and when I lived in Arkansas, I was living in an apartment, but they didn't seem to notice that I stuck a little dipole out there that was resonant at 10 meters. And I did a lot of working on it. Unfortunately, I moved out of the apartment out of the state, so that one kind of went by the wayside. And in between time, I've used everything on 2 meters or 77 meters, and it's all been magnetized to the car. And that's really just about all the antenna stories I've got for this evening. So back to net control. This is Inside KTV.
Okay, Bob, thanks. It's often easy to forget your first antenna, but to me that was in some ways more memorable for me, for instance, because it was the first. Anyway, let's see if anybody else wishes to check into the SOARA 2 meter 440 and 220 net. If so, please come now. Well, a little sparse tonight, so I guess we can make this our 73 round. But if you have more antenna stories, go ahead and share them during your 73, and we'll go to Dale, W6 EDT.
Well, thanks, Ray, and thank you for running the net. Even if it's a small one, it's still fun to hear everybody out there. So I don't have much more to say, so I'll just say 73 all and pass it back to Net, W6 EDT.
Thanks, Dale, and happy antennas. Anyway, Mike, AI6WE, are you still there? I guess he's abandoned us. K6HIV, Canute. K6HIV, are you still there? Well, I guess it's down to Dale, me, and Bob. N5 Kilo Zulu Victor.
Well, definitely make this 73 round. Ray, let me add my appreciation for your winning the net. And I will give it back to you. Good night all. This is KGB.
Thanks, Bob, and 7-3 to you as well. But just for my last turn, my most fun antenna, I think, is that I brought it to SOARA Saturday Gillerin here a few months back, and that's my Salty Waltz Slinky, which, well, I didn't build all the pieces. I guess if you build a wire antenna, you don't build all the pieces either. You buy the wire. So I had to buy the giant Slinky and a 9-to-1 Allen, which I think I had already, and of course some wire for counterpoise, coax to feed it, and you need a 7-meter pole, which works out to almost 25 feet to properly stretch the Slinky out its entire length. But you have a mini coiled vertical. And if those of you saw it, got a lot of chuckles, and it actually worked surprisingly well. We made quite a few contacts on it that Saturday, and I've made additional contacts as well. So, again, my favorite is my Slinky. Anyway, say 7-3, everybody, and thanks for coming on the net tonight. Even though, as Dale says, it was a little sparse, it's still fun to hear everybody out there. So, with that, I'll say 7-3 all. Close the repeater and close the net, return the repeater to normal operation. 8E68.